everybody on this planet, no matter how different we think we all have the same end goal for our lives. And that goal is to learn lessons that help you to become your best possible self.
Just so many people, why are they afraid to kind of go after what they want?
At your funeral, nobody's going to get up and give your eulogy by reading your LinkedIn profile. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be telling stories about you.
Yeah. I mean, people will forget what you said, what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Who do I need to become to get everything I want in my life?
Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness.
Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, declared Aristotle. But what if thinking about your death was the fastest shortcut to self-discovery and a happier life? That's exactly what Karen Salmansohn, our guest today, proves in her latest book, You're to Die for Life. See, when you're forced to confront your mortality, all the noise falls away. The people-pleasing, the endless busy work, goals that aren't really yours. And then suddenly you see yourself with brutal honesty and clarity. That's what we're going to dive into today, living life with the end in mind. Here's a little background on Karen. She is known as a behavioral change expert. Karen is also the best-selling author, over 2 million books sold, including her international bestseller, How to Be Happy, Damn It. Karen is also a columnist for Oprah Magazine and Psychology Today, with many other accolades to boot. Karen, great to have you today. Pleasure having the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Just really quick announcement. Well, no real announcement. If you want to plug in and see what Men Talking Mindfulness is doing, then head to mentalkingmindfulness.com. We also have a new program. We're going to be a mindfulness program that we're going to be launching in December. So maybe you can be part of that. That'll be coming up very soon. Karen, we're going to do our one breath grounding practice just to kind of ground, center, create that clarity that we're going to talk about today. So close the eyes if you like, sit up tall. Everyone that's listening out there, you can start with a nice little exhale out your mouth. Let go, let go, let go. Empty, empty, empty. And let's take a big, giant belly breath in. A little more breath. And exhale, let it go out. Awesome. And hey, thank you all for being here, and help us grow by leaving us a review, like, subscribe, and share this with your network. And you can do that by just simply texting this episode to them. All right, Karen, let's jump in. So why does Contemplating's life's finite nature help people make value-based decisions rather than falling into habitual choices and behaviors?
Well, that's a mouthful, huh?
That is a mouthful.
Okay, well, I have a lot to say. I could write a whole book on that. Actually, I did.
Okay. You
But-
did. And that's
Okay. I think I'm going to start off to the left and then wander to answer your question. Okay.
okay. Love it. Yeah.
I think that Aristotle, who I love, says that you have to begin every project with the ends in mind. And everything from like a bake sale to that gigantic project called your life. And you have to think, what do you want to be feeling? What do you want to be proud of yourself when you're on your deathbed? What do you want to look back on and say, oh yeah, I give my life a 10-star Yelp review, And then reverse engineer it and think about what you need to do now so you reach your end goal for your life. And then Aristotle went on to say that he thinks that everybody on this planet, no matter how different we think we all have the same end goal for our lives, whether you're from Toronto, Toledo, Timbuktu, or we're from ancient Greece, or here in New York City in the year 2025. And that goal is to learn lessons that help you to become your best possible self. And that's what you're on your deathbed. You're going, I did good. I learned some stuff. I did really good. Even the problems, I got my way through it. I'm proud of myself. Look back and see the problems as just merely problems. You see them as experience that help to shape you and grow you. And Aristotle said the reason why so many people were so unhappy is they had the wrong end goal for their lives. They thought it was become the richest person on the planet. Become the sexiest person on the planet, have the biggest podcast on the planet, status, power, fame, glory, beauty, money, all of those. And that's about ego mostly. And he said that we're here to learn lessons and we should be living soul-directed lives, not wallet-directed lives, lust-directed lives, but soul-directed lives that we're here for the education of our soul. And part of becoming your best possible self then is to embrace strong character values. So you're operating at your best possible self way. And here's another weird thing. I'm just going to keep going on a
You
roll here
keep going.
because
I'm taking little mental notes here. I'm gonna check in with some of those later, but go for it.
okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
But to prove it, I'm gonna say something to kind of prove this because I know like throwing Aristotle out first thing out of the gate, it's not
Yeah, right.
some real world like, oh yeah, maybe she's right. But at your funeral, nobody's gonna get up and give your eulogy by reading your LinkedIn profile. Nobody's gonna like whip out your, Google Calendar and go through that and go, "Oh, yes, she never missed a dentist appointment." What they're gonna be doing is they're gonna be telling stories about you. And the stories are gonna be things like, Will was so kind. I remember once I was sick and he came over with soup. Or, oh my God, I remember after my divorce, I was going through a hard time and Susan came over and she told me the funniest story and made me laugh. She was so funny, so supportive. Anyway, all of these stories will have to do with core values plus an action you did. You're mainly going to be remembering stories where you showed up. People remember that. That will be your legacy more than like the awards is how did you show up? What kind of a person was you? What core values and actions that are related to those core values did you embrace?
Yeah. I mean, people forget what you said, what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that's how like you're showing up in the world is like from and it's interesting what you said in the beginning. It's like if you're trying to attain outward success, right? And that's like, and that which is very much externally validated driven versus like tapping into the soul, working from those core values, letting your core values, like we're going to get into, inform your actions. Then like you're working from, instead of it being like what the mind thinks the world should be, you're working from, which we talk a lot about here in the show, working from that heart space, working from the soul, right? Of who you really are. And in order to get to that space, it takes a lot of work, right? To kind of deprogram from the mind so you can get in, to these wonderful attributes that sit deep in our heart, deep on our soul, and then, start pulling those out and then exercising those. And then we can really find, really live that legacy, which like we all want to just be known for. Like, what are you going to put on your epitaph? Like, what are you going to be known for? What are people, why? Okay, here's a question. So why is like working from the end and even partaking in the exercise in your book about writing your own eulogy, how can that really help us to kind of it, sharpen our lives and bring things into focus instead of, and let things fade out that, aren't necessary?
Yeah, well, there's a funny quote, if you don't know where you're going, then you'll never get there or whatever. Like, if you have a target of where you're going, then you're more likely to hit it. Like, if you have an actual target. And we have mission statements for businesses. Why don't we have a mission statement for life? So that's why I think people should write a eulogy. And then it reminds you if you're not living up to what you want for you. And there's a lot of studies that have shown that when people think about death and their mortality and their future selves, the more they're more likely to behave well. When they realize there's a future self out there that's going to be pissed off if you act like an idiot now. So they actually did this study. It's in like the opening of my book where they had this age advancing app where it could age you and you could look like you're 90 years old now. And, they were playing with it. They were on purpose, like, having people play with it. And then afterwards, they did a test, and the people that used the aging app were more likely to save for their retirement because they were aware, "Oh, there's a future me out there." So when you
Right.
your eulogy, plus you get excited when you write your eulogy, like, this is who I really want to be. And then also you make sure you're living that way because we could forget. Like if you write down like my legacy is I want to be known for being kind or I want to, whatever it is, are you living that way now? Are you doing the bridge habits that will get you to become aspirational eulogy you? So that's why one of my exercises in the book is a journal prompt where you ask yourself in the morning, who do I need to become to get everything I want in my life? And the answer is core values, and or ask yourself if you're having a problem, who do I need to become to stop fighting with my child, whatever it is. And then it's like, I need to be more attentive. I need to be more mindful. I need to be more patient. Always the answers are core values. And then you attach a, a an action with it. So you create what's called identity-based statements. I am, and so I do. And my background is behavioral change. And when you attach an identity to it, you're more likely to do it because it creates cognitive dissonance, like this inner like weirdness if you don't. So for example, and it also pushes you harder. Like an example is I live in New York. I don't drive a car. I'm like some Sex in the City parody of a woman where my driver's license expired. I never got it renewed because I don't really need to drive a car. And my friend Danielle, who used to live in Manhattan, moved to Connecticut, and she was having a birthday party and she wanted me to come to Connecticut. And my first instinct was, ugh, Connecticut, I don't drive. How the hell am I going to get myself to Connecticut? That's like my first
Right.
thought, New Yorker thought, And because I'm really aware of what my top core values are, and they are having meaningful relationships and being loving, that's one of my top core values. I thought, wait a minute, I am a loving person. And so I find a way to get my tush to Connecticut. Now, if I didn't attach the core value, yeah, maybe I'd find a way to get myself to Connecticut. But when you say, I am a loving person, if I don't do it, then who am I? I thought I was a loving person. So you're more likely to do it when you attach the core value to the statement.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it helps to create a tremendous amount of clarity, right? And because like you're talking about, this is who I am. So like, if this is who I am, and I keep reminding myself who I am by journaling and going about my day and living those core values, then when an opportunity comes up like this, it's like, wait. Like there could be a million reasons to say no sometimes, especially when you're being asked, to travel a certain distance. Especially when you don't have a car, right? But it's just like, no, I got to make this work. Like I want to be a loving person, like you talked about, and in order to be that loving person and like kind of live that core value, then I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
you could use it like if you know you're about to have a courageous conversation, like one of these brave
mm,
conversations, before you go into it, you remind yourself, I am a kind person. And so I speak with like warmth and empathy, or I am a good listener. And so I don't interrupt when the other person, like you remind yourself, who do I need to be to handle this conversation at its best? Write down the core values, create I am and so I do statements, and then go in and do that challenging thing.
yeah. Well, you mentioned about writing your eulogy, right? And there are definitely like an outline in the book that has like how to do that exercise, correct? Right. So what about finding those core values? Like some people like might be like, oh, core values, what is that? Like, what is that? Like, what does that have to do with like, me just getting to work and paying the bills and, you know what I mean? And taking care of my kids and stuff like that. So how do we begin to discover and find those, which obviously, like we've talked about them like 10 times already here, we mentioned a bunch of
Yeah.
times, because
Yeah.
obviously they're very important and they're at like core values. So they're at our core. So what do
Yeah.
we do to discover them? Yeah.
I make it very easy for people. First of all, my eulogy, I know a lot of people like feel like it might be like a little bit creepy crawly to write your own eulogy. So I have a fill in the blank, like a Mad Libs eulogy template. And you just fill in the blanks. A lot of the blanks happen to be core values. And then I came up with what are the top 7 core values that if you embrace them, you can avoid the top regrets of the dying. So what I did was I looked at all the top regrets of the dying, and I thought, who do I need to become to avoid the top regrets of the dying? I keep asking that question. Who do I need to become? And then I looked at each of them, and then I whittled it down to 7 core values, and I can explain them to you now. They're also very easy to remember because they're all in alphabetical order, except for one, which I just tweaked a little so it fit, and you'll see where that one is. Get in there, get in there.
Yeah, I know, right? In your sandwich way, I'm sure, right? You know,
I
I
was
mean,
trying to remember that.
I get you. I got you, Karen. Like you're a little wordsmith. I love, reading your history. So, but go ahead. Yeah. So tell us about these 7 core values and yeah,
And
please.
they're all based on reverse engineering the top regrets of the dying. So they're like based, like I didn't just like wing it and go, oh, I like this one. Uh, the first one is A for authentic. And that's because some of the top regrets of the dying are, I wish I'd had expressed myself more truly. I wish I'd lived more true to myself. People, there are a lot of ones that are in the, damn, why wasn't I more authentic category? So if you embrace being authentic, you're going to be, you're going to have that's like regret resistant sealer on your life. Uh, so that's A. B is brave. And that one's pretty self explanatory. Anytime you get out of your comfort zone and stretch yourself, you're on your way to becoming your highest possible self and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be bold. I mean, you got to take the step. You got to say yes. You got to get, like you said, out of your comfort zone. Like, I mean, this is like, again, this is how if you really want to accomplish anything, you have to be brave. You have to be bold. You got to get out in that skinny branch and just try it. Like, I mean, this is like, I love that you're working with these, with dead people in mind, like this is like the history of regrets, so keep going. So we have C, which isn't courage because we already got bravery in there. So maybe it is courage. I don't know. What do we got for C? Okay.
Curious to hear your reaction to say,
Yeah.
is curious. And
Hell yeah.
why?
Mhm.
I'm gonna say, remember, learn lessons to grow into your high
Yes.
potential. You have to ask yourself, like, instead of asking yourself, why does this always happen to me? You have to ask yourself, why does this always
There
happen
you,
to
there
me?
you
Like,
go.
what a difference an intonation makes, right?
Right. Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
really curious. Why does this, because they say you repeat what you don't repair. And so to look at and try to understand it. And so you don't get into this repeated pattern loop, so you have to break free from that. So curiosity and plus curiosity helps with awe.
Yeah, exactly. And curiosity keeps the beginner's mind open, right? Instead of just going to habit and just like going through your day to day, living another Groundhog Day, if you will. It's like, if that curiosity is so incredibly important. I mean, it's like, it's one of the core principles of becoming more mindful, right? Because you become more aware. And what you're unaware of, you can't change because you can't see it because you're not unaware of it. Right. But if you're, aware, like because you're curious and you're asking, the question that you just mentioned, like, why do I keep doing this with the inflection of be like real curiosity, like, and then, and if you really want to be a soldier of this work, right, then that's when you just dig in, you maybe get a coach, that's when you start journaling. That's when you maybe do something a little bit different so you can begin to like, just have a different experience. It's so incredibly important to like, to make little changes in order to kind of create new awareness for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. So that's a big one. D, and we see we're alphabetical.
I
D
got you.
is, uh, is discerning. And that one's really important because everybody's always going like, oh, I didn't have time to do the Bubby Doo. I don't have time to write a novel. I don't have time to call my mother. I don't have time. But you know what? If you're discerning, you're going to get rid of all the crap and clutter in your life and you're going to find the time. Because I think that I didn't have the time is sort of like the adult equivalent of the dog ate my homework. It's sort of like,
I love
you
yes.
know,
It's so true. It's so true. And like that's like, I mean, that's one thing with like mindfulness and like and practicing meditation. Like, I don't have time. I don't have time. Like, well, how much are you doom scrolling every day? How much you jumping on Twitter, Instagram, or whatever your favorite like, binging platform or Netflix, and just like take 30 minutes of that. And that 30 minutes a day, like what a difference that can make if you put the time in with like discerning effort, if you will.
and I even have in the book, I have a whole chapter where I help people do a life audit, where they look at where the time leaks are, the happiness leaks, like where they, where can they just kind of clean it up a little. Next is E, And E is for empathic love. And that's the one I had to tweak a little because I knew I wanted love in there. But empathic love turned out to be even better because if I had just put love, it might have sounded like romantic love or something. Empathic love, it could be for your kids, your dogs, strangers, colleagues, clients, podcast hosts. You
Thank you. That's good. I feel it, Karen. I
know,
feel the love coming through. Right.
right.
Anyway, but,
So,
yeah,
yeah, so it's about that, and it's also about active listening, really showing up, putting your phone away, like, being really present. It's a reminder to have compassion and seek first to understand, then to yeah. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Yes, that.
yeah. Yeah, and empathy puts you in a relationship. You know what I mean? Where love is just a big concept, like which I mean, love is obviously very important, but again, it gets, love can be broken down in several different layers. Like, I mean, kindness is an act of love, but empathy is a great act of love because it puts you in the other person's shoes, which is like very important. And it takes us out of our selfish nature, right? And into like, oh, wait, like, a different state of mind, and also puts us instead of it just being head driven, right? Again, back to the soul, back to the heart. And and that's where the information starts coming from, right?
That's what creates truly meaningful relationships, the more empathically loving you are. That's why they could be like this hot couple, but if they don't have empathy for each other, the whole thing's gonna crash and burn, They'd be like, "I love you," but then without the empathy, no, it it disappears.
Exactly. F. Do we have F? I think is next.
Okay, F, oh, and I haven't been linking them to the regrets of the dying, but they're
Oh
all
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
they're
Well, what would be like? Yeah, give us like that could be actually a really good one. Like, what is the regret of not being empathetic enough to the
oh my god.
dying? I mean,
Um
please tell me. This is a good one. I'm sure.
Well, a lot of people say that I wish I hadn't lost touch with my friends. I wish I wish that I had been of more service, given back more. That's also empathically loving reminds you that a lot of what we want, a lot of legacies that we have, doesn't have to be like you don't have to go out there and like cure cancer, but your legacies of being I can't even say it now. Empath
Empathetic, empathic.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, one of those, both of those. Um, is being of service and giving back. Those are the stories people are gonna really remember you by, and that are gonna bring you joy too. That you feel good. It's such a win-win when you're giving of giving turning your pain into purpose, helping others, helping someone you went through something and now they're going through it and you can be there for them. All of that being of service helps you to, you know, that's helps you avert one of the top regrets of the dying. And that brings me to F, which is for fun, because one of the top regrets of the dying is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Yes, fun is a core value. And to make sure and another regret of the dying is I wish I let myself be happier. That's a regret of the dying. Isn't that sad? And the empathic one, I forgot, because I pulled from different, end of life, like doulas, and one of them spoke a lot about wanting to ask for forgiveness or having closure. And empathically loving lets you maybe try to find a way to forgive and sit. So they're all each one of these it's so interesting how each of these core values, if you embrace them, you will have, I mean, people are gonna have some regrets. I mean, that if you don't have some regrets, it means you didn't really live be for brave, you know,
Right. Yeah. True. Exactly.
but you're gonna have more peaceful versions of them because you're gonna know you did your best.
Yeah. Well, I think it's different types of regret. Like, I mean, if I'm up there doing the best I can with something that, you know, um, is meaningful to me and something that is expressing my core value and it doesn't go out, it doesn't, happen the way or the results aren't what I want. Like, yeah, I mean, I might feel regretful, but it's like, then it's like if I'm living on that skinny branch and getting out there and doing it, it's like, and I really want to succeed, then I'm just getting good information and I'll come back, take that information and then try again, and see what maybe the results are.
Oh, and I have more to say on that on the skinny bread, but I'm gonna just, uh, finish up the 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 last core value that matches with regrets of the dying. The last one is G for grateful. So you have gratitude for what you have now, which helps you on your way to becoming aspirational you to just appreciate what you have now. And also because one of the regrets of the dying was, I wish I hadn't lost touch with my friends, so it's about just appreciating the people that you have in your life. And then you're more likely to, have, fill up the emotional bank account, put in the work of repair. So gratitude helps a lot and just daily happiness.
Yeah, well, it's if we're thankful for what we have, right? And they talk about like, I mean, I'm sure everything that you've written and talked about, like gratitude is always a part of it because it is the core value that unlocks all the other ones, right? So, yeah, if you can't be thankful for who you are, what you're doing, then like, or even just like the meal that you have, and just it's incredible how our world exists, and even to the smallest thing like your Amazon delivery guy. I mean, just that's like all these little things along the way, or like a hot shower, or a nice warm meal. It's like if we can just bring gratitude to those moments, right, then we're in those moments a little bit more, and we're not just kind of I feel like is it like with the dying, it's just like, are there why is it they're kind of always waiting for life to start for them in some ways, or like, or they might work from, I heard you talk about like a have do be kind of thing. Like if I have this and I'm doing that, then I'm going to be happy, versus like being right grateful in this case, right? Or for an example, right? Then I can go out and I'm doing things with this gratitude, and then I'm going to like basically have anything I want. So what is it with like people that get kind of stuck in this regret and aren't living life from the end, like we're learning from Aristotle in this conversation? Like what is it like gets in the way of people, or from your research, like what'd you find?
Oh God, there's a lot of ways to answer that. One is I have a whole chapter in the book called Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda, Shoulda, Uppa.
Yes, there's your brilliance again, Karen. There's the Chris sandwich coming out. Anyway, well, I keep saying that twice now, because Karen, our guest right here, coined the phrase or the term Chris sandwich for Burger King, right?
I
So
do,
I
yeah.
know that's awesome. That's
You
pretty
know
awesome.
what's funny is recently a friend of mine said, "Oh, I think you'll love this woman, Alexandra, because she has the same kind of sense of humor about you." And they introduced, turns out she coined the name Baconator. So now the woman who created the word sandwich, the name is friendly with the woman who created the term Baconator. It's so random, but it was so weird. But I digress. I
Yeah, thank you.
digress.
Good to know. Little short history and like pop culture history. I love it.
Well, first of all, some people think when they hear I wrote a book about death that I'm an end of life doula, but I'm a middle of life doula. I'm like here to help you while there's more runway to change things. So, what I have people do is, first of all, avoid the regrets while you can, but also to think about some of your regrets and how you can change them. Are there some things that you can start doing now? And then looking at that. And then also looking at what I call a negative personal narrative. So if you have like a belief system that hasn't, like if something happened in your life that you're still regretting and you're holding on to it in a negative way, then you can't move past it. So a permanent negative like narrative of it. So I tell a story in the book where I was out to dinner with my family and I went to the powder room and I saw somebody had written on the powder room wall, a woman, uh, Lynn plus men who don't love her. And I thought, oh my
Jesus.
gosh,
Talk
poor,
about a limiting belief, right?
right?
God damn. God, yeah, yeah.
Such an
Sorry.
obvious negative belief because she had formed a story around it. And then remember I said we repeat what we don't repair, that became her story. And it was sort of like I want to write underneath it, Lynn plus men who she's attracted to because she still hasn't healed her core wound. And so she is repeating the programming until I didn't write any of
Check
that.
out my website. Anyway, it sounds like she should have wrote this in a men's bathroom. She might have better luck. You know what I mean? But
Right.
But
Right, true.
yeah.
Well, anyway, so I thought about that, and I have people try to look at why they have repeated patterns, and, so I have a whole system in the book to try to analyze what are your permanent and pervasive beliefs and break free from them, so that's part of it. Um, but now I'm forgetting your exact question. I might have kind of
Well, just,
whatever.
no, like, I mean, like, I mentioned about getting out of regret, and like, and then I guess like, why is it so easy for people, right, to fall into more of a regretful life, right? Because you wouldn't be, you would have not, we wouldn't have this
Um,
conversation. You
I do
wouldn't have
have
written this book, right?
yeah,
Yeah, if this wasn't a problem, right?
it's
This is
autopilot.
definitely got,
Autopilot,
yes.
I forgot. So, this is actually how I begin the book, so I could have even begun here, is that, I said that I didn't write this book because I had a near-death experience. I had a near-life experience that and a lot of us are living life in a near life experience where you're on your phone so much, you're swiping, you're scrolling through, that you're not fully present, you're not mindful, you're not aware, and you're on autopilot. So you're not in your life, you're near your life adjacent, or you're out to dinner with somebody and instead of like really paying full attention to what they're saying, you're like worrying about something in the future or you're regretting something from your past. So you're not in the present. Or you keep putting things off to someday. Someday I will, later I will. And we live as if we have like 700 bonus years stored in a drawer somewhere, and we don't. And that's where mortality awareness comes along. And reminds you life is short. Life, and I wrote this book because when my dad died, that was like the wake up call that I needed that you never know. We're here and then we're not. And it's up to us to make the here part as meaningful as possible and stop putting things off to someday. And that just keeps you avoiding living your best life. And that's why I believe mortality awareness works because it creates urgency and that sparks action. And I believe in some ways mortality is baked into our system if you believe in something woo woo. It's here to help us. Like, if we lived a gazillion years, can you imagine we'd be constantly putting things off? Like, oh, yeah, I'll start that podcast next millennium. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell her I love her, like, a couple centuries from now, but when we know that time is limited, we're like, okay, I got to get to this. It fire under our tushes.
I remember Carlos Castaneda, the writer. I remember reading Journey to Ixtlan a long time ago. Oh my God, when I first got to New York, like almost 20 years ago, and in that Toltec tradition, they say that death is always just 6 feet to your left, is what they describe, right? 6 feet to your left, and it is your greatest advisor. And it's like, I was like, so it's right there. And if I'm getting goosebumps kind of talking about, because maybe death is over there. Hey, like, and letting that kind of, like letting that like just be a guide. So if you are getting stuck or you are like coming back on that autopilot and just kind of waking up like to what we're talking about here, that urgency and like there's only so many days. I mean, it could be over tomorrow for both of us, right? Who knows, or another week or two, or it could be 10 more years, but like, why not make that day you're having or that 2 weeks you have left or those whatever, how many years you have, like the best you possibly can, right? By, becoming more aware of your habits, right? Like again, writing from the end, like we kind of like how we started the show here. Um, and any comments there, please?
Well, the other reason why also is I believe that to live your best life, you have to put in a little effort, right?
You
And
think? Yeah, we
yeah,
definitely do. Yeah, I know.
right.
Sorry.
No, no, I know, but
Yeah.
I mean, most people want the easy path, and they don't want and so in the book, I talk about how people think that, like, life is just like this den of pleasure, and it's also a laboratory for growth, but people don't wanna leave the den. They wanna hang out in the den, but they gotta go into the lab, and they gotta grow. They have to embrace, like, B for brave and C and curious, and go into the lab, examine, why does this keep happening to me. And they have to do, in the book, I really do love Aristotle, but I also talk about Stoicism and everything. And it's sort of the difference between what Aristotle called Hedonia and Eudaimonia. I don't know if you had ever had any guess.
I've heard I haven't, but I know those. I used to watch Brian Johnson, not like the longevity guy,
Oh, yeah,
just like
right.
really great coach. Like he's
Right now,
fucking
Karen.
amazing, right? And he has a
Yep.
whole program called Eudaimonia, right? And
Oh,
he
he
just
does?
loves these. Yeah, he loves. That's one of the core principles of his teachings of what he does, and he's just done such great work. And but yeah, tell us please what.
It's a total
Yeah.
Aristotle thing.
Hmm.
And Stoicism, they talk about it too.
Hmm.
But it's about, and it matches with a lot of modern psychology too, because Martin Seligman has a word that sort of matches up with eudaimonia, which is flourishing. And it's about like that. Sometimes you have to have a little struggle to really feel the higher level of happiness, which is flourishing or fulfillment. So it's really about the choice of the enjoy now, struggle more later, or struggle a little now, enjoy more later. Like go to the gym is the struggle a little now, enjoy more later. Having the difficult conversation, struggle a little now, enjoy more later. Find a way to get your tush to Connecticut for Danielle's birthday party.
Exactly. Make it happen. Yeah.
Struggle for Danielle. She's listening to this. She'd be like, next time she's gonna be, I'll send a car for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
didn't know I was such a problem. Like,
yeah.
my God, I thought I was
Oh
your friend,
my
Karen.
God.
I'm just kidding.
I love you, Danielle.
Yeah, it's, it's sincere, Danielle. I can feel that Karen's being sincere right now. It is true. Like, I think, is that like, I have a question here. It's like, you know, um, why do so many people, why are they afraid to kind of go after what they want? Then they live in that regret. Like, what is this like? I don't know if it's overanalyzing or you talk about, you mentioned earlier the A is authenticity. And, sometimes when we, kind of express ourselves authentically when we're younger and like, cruel kids kind of shut us down. And then we kind of live in that, that darkness, like, oh, I can't be who I am because I'm going to be made fun of or something like that. So, what is it about? Like, 'cause, I mean, sometimes I definitely live and have lived, and I try to live with a hell of a lot less regret, like, have a podcast. Like, it's not, it's definitely things are working for me, but I'm also going after things I want. So, what is it about that? Like, from your own experience, from what you've been studying, like, yeah.
I'll tell you from both. I'll tell you from what I've been studying and also give you a story. Uh, it's what I keep going back to in the book, identity-based habits. Identity is your destiny. Who you think you are will determine what you do. Your identity is the puppet master of your habits. So it's doing its little identity brainwashing on you already without you knowing it. If you walk around thinking, I am sloppy, you're going to do the habits of a sloppy person. If you think, I am creative, you're going to do the habits of a creative person. If you think, I suck, then you're going to do the habits of somebody who sucks. So you have to own your identity first. And then if you're having trouble, that's where if you keep writing it down, I am and so I do. So here's my story. This is a little bit, I think it's very relevant to this conversation. Many years ago, back in the 1990s, I had this idea for a book called How to Be Happy, Damn It. It had the word damn it in the title. And I pictured it with like colorful graphics and everything. This was back in the 1990s. Nobody had curse words in book titles, let alone a personal development book. I mean, now curse words like damn it seems like that's not even a curse word, in today's world. But back then it was like crazy. And I told my agent this idea, how to be happy, damn it. Anyway, she's like, I'm not doing that. You're not doing that book. I don't believe in this book. She didn't believe in it. So I believed in it so much that I said to her, I love you very much, but I'm going to leave you and I'm going to go off and do this book. And then I found the creative like I knew I was a creative director for my advertising days, but I found somebody that knew Photoshop and InDesign because back then they didn't have Canva and stuff like that, And I worked with him. We did the whole book from beginning to end, every page. I packaged the book. And then we sent it out to the publishing house. We had a bidding war, and then that book became a huge bestseller. And it was like Urban Outfitters' best-selling book a bunch of years in a row. It was in an Eminem video. You see him
No
reading
shit.
the book.
Oh,
But
does he?
yeah, I have the book somewhere. I don't think it's grabbable from here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
had a bright orange cover. But what happened was, so we did it, and then, oh my god, that book sold like 250,000 copies, and then launched more sequel books, and it kind of kicked off my career, that book. And so what happened was, then my dad passed away, and I started to become very interested in how my life was like the death was this alarm clock that woke me up, and it's why I decided to finally start my family. It's why I started to live more boldly, and I wrote my eulogy, and I started and I had a different agent, and I called her up and I said, "I wanna do this book on death." And she's like, "You write happiness books. Don't write a book on death." And I kept letting her talk me out of it. She kept talking me
Ah.
out of it. So one day, like recently, I guess like at this point, it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I said, "I really wanna do that death book." And she said, "Karen, don't do it." And then I got off the phone with her, and I had this thought. I thought, "Oh, I remember when I was younger and my agent didn't wanna do How to Be Happy, damn it. I was feisty and I was bold and I just wanted to be innovative and I just went ahead and did it. I guess I'm not feisty. I guess I'm not bold. I guess I'm just not innovative anymore." And then I heard those words and I thought, "Wait a minute. I am feisty. I am bold. I am innovative. I reawakened my identity
Boom.
did did a version of identity-based habits. I reawakened because it created cognitive dissonance.
Mm.
I am feisty. What do you mean? I don't outgrow feisty. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
feisty till I'm like 90, 100. So, so I was like,
Yeah, I'm with you, yeah.
and that reminder of my identity that I want to be feisty in a bold. I let her go. I went ahead, found another agent, and here we are talking today, you and me, Will.
Exactly,
And it
exactly.
was identity. That's who do I really want to be? Who do you need to become to get everything you want in your life? Who do you need to become to finally leave your agent and sell the book you know in your heart you really want to write? Or authentic. That was me. It was like I think all 7 of those core values had to come in. It was authentically me. I had to be brave. So yes, core values, identity, the more you become aware of them and you remind yourself about who do you want to be, the more likely you're going to live what I call it to die for life.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, the highest aspirational identity I have, I I call it, and I have it on my board over here, my little blackboard. This is my motherfucker. Like, this is like when I get big and I show up big, here's what's going on inside of me, right? So I'm clear, confident, and decisive, right? I'm powerful, ambitious, and willing, right? This is almost coming down to these like 7, right? Uh, Indifferent to outcomes, results oriented, curious leader, fiercely compassionate, kind, and strong. And I would even add forgiving is what I would add because it's very important. But like, God, I'm like getting like, I want to go, I don't know, I need to do something right now, Karen. Like, I'm like, gotta like move an earth or another planet, I feel, after kind of like, because I really like God. Like, I mean, that's when I'm at my best, like those are the things that are happening for me.
And the more you marinate your brain with that, the more likely you're going to do that because soon as I just forgot. It's sort of like the Lion King with Simba or whatever. You must remember who you really are. Do you remember that scene in the Lion King? You know, and that was my Lion King moment. Karen, you must remember. I'm like I'm writing that book. It's sort of what happened, and we all need to remind ourselves of that.
Well, how important is it? to then surround yourself with people that help you, that hold you to this identity. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, your agent was like, no, 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 I can't do it, can't do it. You know, but like, how important is that with this work? Because, you know, what do they say? That you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
No, it's true. And people that want to see you rise up and people who believe in your abilities that aren't like giving you like people that are not what I call negative evidence collectors, are like,
Yeah, no shit,
you
right?
know,
Yeah, good
can't
point.
do that. A book like other people who spit back, she was a negative evidence collector. And so, but people who see you not only as you are, but believe in all you can become. And those are the meaningful relationships. Those are the people that you definitely want to spend time and you want to be that for other people. Those are the meaningful relationship people. Yes, definitely.
Well, people that are listening, like, okay, how does mindfulness play into all this? If we can dip into there,
That's
would be great.
yeah, a lot because I opened the book talking about how I was, having too many near life experiences, and that's kind of the opposite of mindfulness, and I definitely believe that, to live a fully awake, fully in the moment life where you're making conscious choices, mindful choices, you need to embrace mindfulness. So I have a lot of journaling exercises to help. And I talk a lot about meditation in the book. So you can get in touch with who your authentic self is and what your authentic self wants. And to ask yourself every morning, um, I have I have habits that you do mindfulness exercises throughout the book for morning, afternoon, and night. So mindfulness is a big part of the book, actually. In the morning, I have people do that journaling exercise. Who do I need to become? But I have people write what I call a to die list, which is not to be confused with a bucket list. It's more like a to do what matters most list, because I believe that, you know, to-do lists are okay, but they have their flaws. You could do everything on your to-do list, get to the end of your life and feel like you wasted your life because, it's about worshiping productivity. And things could be missing from there. The things that people, the stories, the beautiful stories about you. So a to-die list is reminding yourself, like, I am a loving person, and and then you think about somebody that you need to reach out to that's like going through a hard time, or you might wind up putting things on a to-die list that never made it onto your to-do list, like that are in some ways more important that you could forget about unless you really think about who do I need to become to get everything I want in my life. And then put down little habits for that remind you of the person you want to be. And so you live that way.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And again, is working from the inside out. Like, and instead of just checking boxes all the time. And I mean, work is work. Like, I mean, I definitely have a to do list for my work. I mean, I need to get stuff done. But like the things I'm checking off on that list, because I mean, I'm a teacher. Like, I'm a helper. Like, I do a lot of like I teach meditation. I'm going to be teaching at Sotheby's next week in New York. I'm helping them understand these principles and stuff like that. Like, we have this podcast. Like, I have, and, but like, so when I'm, everything on my to-do list is just helping me to, go further, in what I want to do. And it just feels good, on the inside when I'm doing that. But even if like, someone out there, they're not doing exactly what they want right now. And we've talked about this in the show before. Like, you can have you can have smaller, like little, like you can be a great gardener. Like, that's what I want to be doing. Like, that's what lights me up on the inside is gardening. And then just by connecting with that and having that kind of heartfelt relationship to something that's meaningful in your life, it's amazing. Like, how you start seeing the world differently, thinking a little bit differently, and then you start making different choices. And then who knows what that can stack up eventually into, leading you into something even greater than what you're doing now. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Definitely. I love
yeah.
all of
Yeah. Yeah. Keep going. If there's anything else, I have just a couple more questions for you. Where's a great place to start with this? Like, I mean, get the book, this is really going to help and break it down, no, for real, for real. Like I think people have to understand that this is just not like, oh, I listened to a podcast. Now I'm going to be, living my best life, my to die for life. It's like, no, like you really need to put in the work. Like one thing that we're working against so much so is like our programming. And this is a program, or this is a program that's going to help create a program inside of you that that accesses that deeper self that we've been talking about here.
Yeah, I write in a humorous way, so it doesn't feel it doesn't feel as much like work, like the way that, I help you by having the Mad Libs template for the eulogy and the way that I express things. I'm supposedly funny, but my son doesn't think I'm funny. But
It's your
um,
son. He's your
so,
he's your biggest critic
yeah,
next to yourself,
yeah.
I
I
bet.
tell I tell him, "You're not funny, Mom." And then I say, "Jon Stewart thinks I'm funny. I got a testimonial from Jon Stewart saying I'm funny." And he says, "Who's Jon Stewart?"
Oh,
And I'm like, "Okay, never mind. Don't talk to me." But no, I have a blurb from him. But anyway, so it's like a fun book to read. So it's a fun book on death, if that makes sense to anybody, but it is. And but I do have a lot of like journaling exercises, things in the book. I have one little mindfulness ritual that you might find interesting. I wrote about on Substack, and people were absolutely loving it. It got like a very viral response. I have what I call my mortality marble jar. Okay. So what I did was I bought 2 jars, one representing the future, one representing the soon to come past. And I counted how many months I had left to live if I lived to 100. Because I promised my son I'd live to 100. He asked me to live to 200, but I bargained him down to 100. So, um, and I found out I started this marble jar a couple years ago. I don't even remember the exact number that it started with. It might have been like 471 marbles, like months.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was a little startling. I thought that was not that many marbles, not the months, do they represent months? But I bought them. I went on Amazon and I bought 500 marbles. And this was kind of depressing. When the 500 marbles came, I didn't even get to use all 500 marbles. I immediately had to
Oh,
remove marbles. I'm like, well, I guess
right.
I won't be
But God, I
living.
guess I'm getting kind of old. Like, God damn, I thought I had more time. It's like you're moving handfuls of life, shifting from
Apples of
jar.
life, right? And so I was like, okay. But I said then I put those in one jar and I had the empty jar. And then what I do this the first of every month. And I keep them in my kitchen. It also actually doubles as a reminder to eat healthy because I want to live to 100. And every time I go into the kitchen, I'm like, ice cream, mortality marble jars, like reminding me, like, stay healthy, live to 100. But what I do is the first of every month, I have a cup of coffee and I pull out a marble and I think, this is a piece of my life. What did I do with this piece of my life last month? And the first time I did it, it was really kind of depressing because I couldn't really remember anything. I'm like, I think I had a dentist appointment. Like, I couldn't really think. And I thought, okay, I got to do better next month. And then I looked at the jar, I picked out, they're all different colorful marbles. I'm like, okay, you're going to be next month's marble. And then I started to plan things to be excited about because the jar is like accountability jar. Like, oh, I'm going to tell the jar this next month. I'm going to tell the jar this that month. And I started to plan ahead. And like, I had a friend who visited from out of town, and she's like, hey, Karen, I'm in from California. I want to meet for lunch. And I knew I was busy. But to tell you quite frankly, I thought, oh, this could be something. I mean, I don't know if this is embarrassing to admit, but I thought, oh, this would be something to report to my mortality. Like it made me want to meet her because how am I living my life when you have to think about it every month, report to yourself every month. What did I just do last month? How did I live? And then get excited about your future months. And then you put the used up, like the lived marbles into the other jar. And sometimes you look at them and you remember the happy memories. So it's just a great mindfulness tool that reminds me, am I living the way that I need to live to, to feel like I've lived a meaningful life.
Well, it's brilliant also because it's tactile. Instead of it just being in a notebook, instead of it, just swimming in your head, instead of it being on your computer somewhere, it's like, and if it's in a kind of a prominent location where you do this kind of work, it's like you're looking at that jar. It's like shit. Like there's a lot of marbles in the other, in like
Yeah.
and it's like so that's and that's one thing I'm gonna do this because this is one I don't I mean, I do reflect, I am a man, but I don't reflect enough on like the month instead. And like in the sense of like, what did I do this month? What did I learn this month? How could I have done things better? And let this information, let your history, right, inform your future, right? Or at least have a better idea of where you want to go and what not to do as you go along your way. And to have that, like that physical, like, you're pulling out a life, giving it meaning. That's I can see why it blew up on Substack because it's tactile. It's not just this, a bunch of words or whatever, or an idea. It's like, I mean, it is an idea, but there's a deeper meaning because it is in the physical realm. Which is awesome. That's wonderful, Karen. That's a great way to, kind of close this out unless there's anything else that you feel is important to kind of close this conversation.
No, I think that is a good way to close it out. I'm having fun,
Yeah,
but
me too.
it's a little.
Yeah, this has been fun. I'm glad we laughed a lot. I
Yes.
like it's good. My God. We got to get coffee, Karen, or one of these days. Like we're both in the city. Like I love to just like hang out with you, just kind of pick your brain a little bit and just like, we both are doing similar work and like who knows work. And we probably know a lot of similar people, I gotta say. But it's been wonderful having you, Karen. Where can people find you? I know social media, you're big out there and your books and your website and stuff like that. So please plug away because your work is so incredibly valuable.
Thank you. Well, my book is called You're to Die for Life, and I have a whole website called you'retodieforlife.com. So, and I have freebies there, and I can also do one-on-one life reviews and help people write their eulogy. So I do all of that kind of stuff. And then my last name is Salmonson. Everybody mangles it. They're always going Salmonson. I'm always saying not salmon, not salmon. So my main website is notsalmon.com. My Instagram, not salmon. Facebook, not salmon. Even Substack, not salmon. So just remember that and you'll find me.
Not salmon, not salmon. When you talked about your name in the beginning, I felt like it was like an Italian guy, like, hey, Sal. Salmon sounds like that sounds like Solomonson. Okay. But Karen, it's been a real pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for everything you're putting out there in the world. Like, and everyone that's listening to this, it's like, get the book, start your journey. And if you've been like listening, like, I feel like there's a group of listeners out there that just kind of tune in and be like, oh, that's really nice. That was a really good episode again. And don't really like action any of this information. This could be one of those actions that you can take. If your book is anything, how kind you are and how fun you are, then it's going to be something that's really going to be valuable for people.
Oh,
So
thank you so much.
thank you, everybody. mentalkingmindfulness.com to learn more about what we're doing. We got our course coming up. We're going to do beta test the team in December. And we're going to launch this sometimes in January. It's going to be called Awareness to Action with Men Talking Mindfulness. John and I will be leading this work at your own pace 12-module set. But be on the lookout for that. And Karen, such a pleasure. And bye, everybody. Have a great everything. Peace.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.